Shree Gurudeva Datta. Chapter 50 tells us about how a guru is not just for one lifetime but is for multiple lifetimes. Now in chapter 9, if we remember, the Rajak was blessed by Shripad Sri Vallabh to be born in the royal family of Bidar. And as rightly predicted, this Rajak was born in the royal family of Bidar, and he was a Muslim ruler who was very different from the previous rulers in the aspect that he would respect the Brahmins, the Hindus, and he would see to it that they were given equal importance as the Muslim population of his kingdom. Now it so happened that one day he had developed a small ulcer or a small tumor on his thigh. Unable to understand the reason for this, he asked and consulted many of the physicians of his kingdom. None of them could cure it. Ultimately, he asked the advice of a Brahmin priest who told them, this can only go by the grace of the saint, or if a benevolent look of a saint falls on it, you will be cured of this. To explain his statement, the priest tells him the following story or incident. He says in Ujjain, there was a Brahmin youth who had given up all his regular Brahmin duties and started living with a prostitute whose name was Pingala. Though these two were not having a very legal relationship, but they were pious and devoted, and one day the Rishabh Muni, who is supposed to be again an incarnation of Vishnu, happened to pass by their town, and he visited the house of Pingala. Both the Brahmin man and Pingala took utmost care of Rishabh Muni. They took care of his needs, and even at night when he was asleep, they remained awake to see that he did not lack in any comfort. Staying there for a few days, Rishabh Muni then left further for his way. Pingala and this Brahmin youth, after some years due to old age, died. This Brahmin youth was now born in the womb of another lady in his next birth, who was supposed to be the queen of a particular kingdom. Her name was Sumati. Now, Sumati and the king, who were supposed to be deeply in love with each other, had everything going right till the king got married a second time. The younger queen was jealous that this queen was given so much importance and that she was also going to bear a child in a short time who would be an heir to the kingdom. Due to this jealousy, she poisoned the queen, and so the child in the womb also got poisoned. But of course, none of them died. The only thing that happened was small warts or eruptions started coming all over the body of the senior queen, and the child which was born due to the poison also developed eruptions on its body. This child, as we mentioned earlier, was the Brahmin who was in the earlier birth staying with the prostitute Pingala. Now all this happened, and one fine day, the queen, the younger queen, told the king that this queen of yours is so disgusting to look at with all those pus and ooze coming out of her wounds that it is better that you just dump her somewhere. As the younger queen was beautiful, the king gave in to her demands, and he told his attendants to take the queen, that is Sumati, and this newborn child to some faraway forest and desert them there. The attendants did so, and Sumati, carrying her newborn baby, moved about in the forest crying for help so that she could feed the child. There was no one to hear her. After a while, she came out into a dwelling place which had some people working around. She saw some young ladies who took pity on her and fed the child as well as took her to their abode, which was supposed to be very close to the king's palace. The king there, whose name was Parameshwar, was very kind to her, and he said, you can work at my palace as my attendant and you can look after the needs of my queen also. But on realizing that she herself was of a queenly status, he apologized and said that she should be given due respect. So he gave her a separate room or a chamber to live in with the child. He looked upon her as his sister. Now some time passed, and Rishabh Muni now came to this king's palace to give him a visit. At the same time, this young lady, Sumati, whose child was just newborn, suddenly happened to have a agonized pain, and the child died instantly. The woman was so aggrieved at the loss of her child that she started lamenting and crying and mourning for the death of her child. Rishabh Muni, who happened to be in the palace, heard these cries and he asked the king what exactly was the problem. He explained the whole incident to them, and Rishabh Muni then asked the queen Sumati to come along with her dead child towards him. He looked at the child and said, "This child has served me in my past birth, and therefore I shall revive him and see to it that both of you even get rid of your ailment." He took a little bit of sacred ash and blew it on the face of the dead child, and the child was revived back to life. This shows that if you serve a saint even once in your lifetime, his grace will be on you for lifetimes to come. Saying so, the Brahmin priest told the king that he should go to Papa Vinashini Tirtha, and there he would meet a yogi who would give him further directions. The king set out alone to the Tirtha, and as soon as he reached there, he saw a yogi walking towards him. The yogi smiled at him and said, "Rajaka, you may not remember anything of your previous birth." Saying so, the yogi looks at the Rajak, who is now the Muslim ruler, very intently. The intent gaze takes Rajak back to that birth when he was serving Shripa Shri Vallabh and remembers the sequence of events. He then prostrates at the feet of the yogi and thanks him for reminding him about his past birth and his promise to the Rajak that he would meet him in this incarnation too. Saying so, the yogi now tells him, "What exactly is the problem and why have you come to this tirth?" The king says, "I have a small tumor on my thigh and it is not getting healed with whatever amount of medicines I take." The yogi says, "Let me see, where is it?" The king tries to show, but ultimately there is not even a scar of the tumor or the abscess there. The yogi smiles at him and says, "This was just an excuse so that you could come and meet me at the Papa Vinashini Tirth, because I had promised you that I would meet you in this incarnation of mine when you would be the king of Bidar." The king is now so happy and so ecstatic at this meeting that he tells him, "I want to now serve you and give up all my royal duties." Shree Guru says, "It is not possible for you to do so because you still have a lot of duties, household duties, as well as regular kingly duties towards your subjects." The king says, "At least come and have a glance at my entire kingdom. Throw your grace on them so that they also get uplifted." Now, Shree Guru cannot refuse, because as he already said that anyone who comes to ask anything rightfully, Shree Guru grants that. So he agrees, and therefore the king says, "I'll take you to my palace in a palanquin. You do not have to walk all the way. All your disciples also will be given horses to ride on." So saying, the king orders his people to bring a big procession of palanquin and horses. Shree Guru and his disciples move in the procession and go towards the palace. The king seats Shree Guru on his throne and asks his family to come and prostrate in front of him. The Muslim priests who are around are quite shocked at this behavior of the king, and they feel that this is not the right thing for a person of this religion to do so. But as he has got his past memory and the Purva Samskar, as we call it, this stops him from bifurcating population on the basis of their religion. The entire family has the grace of Shree Guru. Shree Guru now says, "It's time for me to do my rituals and I have to go to Ganagapur for the same. If you want, you can meet me again at the Papa Vinashini Tirtha, because I will be now proceeding for my further duties." Saying so, the saint Shree Guru Nasya Saraswati travels within no time from the king's palace, comes to Bidar and comes to Papa Vinashini Tirtha. There he is waiting so that he can meet the king and again give him further guidance. Further, what happens, we will come to know in the chapter 51. Till then, let's chant the name of Shree Gurudeva Datta.